By Amy Gardner, everything is pledged to the context that language lesson. Have you ever gone grocery shopping without a list? It might seem like a good idea at first, but then you wander aimlessly. You have some vague idea of what you need and why you need it, but that idea isn't concrete or detailed. In the end, it's amazing that you end up getting the things you really wanted or needed. If you do manage to remember them, it's only by chance. That's kind of how it is to learn vocabulary out of context. You can present your student with vocabulary lists and grammar exercises, but without any knowledge of why they're learning. These activities fall aimless to them. If your student do acquire knowledge without any context, it's probably by chance. But setting context in a language lesson can be tricky. A foreign language classroom, more than almost more than almost any other kind of classroom, can feel disconnected from the real life context in which the material being taught will be used. Setting context in a way that feels natural rather than forced can be very challenging. So, how can you bring context into your language lesson? What concrete steps can you take to make vocabulary lists and grammar concepts come to life in an environment which often feels so artificial? Why is context important? First, in case you need any more persuading, here's a brief explanation of actually what context is and why it's so foundational to a great language lesson. Context is simply part, the entire reason for learning a language. Without context, the tasks of language learning are nothing more than meaningless rituals. Your students are memorizing lists of words they will never use. They are acquiring grammar rules for situations that exist only within the covers of a netbook. Essentially, without context, your entire curriculum takes place within an imaginary universe that no one cares about. Context provides the real life situation in which language is used. Setting context allow your student to get at least a simulation or of real life practice. It might not be practical to take them on a trip to experience the target language in person, but you can give them a context that prepares them for the day when they make to just that. Just that. Context is the most authentic motivator in the language classroom. Sure, you can try giving out praises or motivate your student with good grades and compliments, but the best motivation is intrinsic. Your student want the certification of knowing they can accomplish a challenging and useful task. When language is put in context, it gives students the intrinsic motivation they need. So, now that you know teaching language in context is important, how exactly do you do it? How to set context in a language lesson is not too easy to give a language lesson a meaningful context in the classroom. In this post, we will cover some concrete ideas for creating context-based lesson. But first, here are some tricks you can use to introduce context in any lesson. Build connections is one of the five Cs of language learning for a reason. Connections are critical to the process of language learning precisely because they make it easier to set a context. On way, one way to do this is by connecting the subject of the lesson to something in the lives of your student. For example, who watched the royal wedding? Can anyone describe a wedding they have been to? Let's brainstorm. some what we use to talk about weddings. You might also make a connection to a TV show or a celebrity that your student enjoy. Another helpful way to build connection is by starting with something they already know about their own language. Give me some words to describe this picture. What do these words have in common? They real adjectives. Let's talk about adjectives in the target language. Provide example of the real life situation in which the vocabulary will be used. If food vocabulary is on the agenda, begin by talking about what's like to go to a restaurant in the target country culture. If you are teaching vocabulary about travel, talk about situation your student might encounter at an airport, train station, or hotel. For example, if you are teaching vocabulary for visiting the doctor's office, you might have students listen to a record conversations between a doctor and a patient. Read an informational article about health dialogue on the topic to add a word for the class. Here are some more ideas to bring to contact to life in your classroom. Ready? Set 3 context setting for language lesson. Here are some six specific examples of lessons in which the context is clearly set and remains clear throughout the lesson. Visit to a restaurant. Begin by talking to the student about a recent visit to a popular restaurant, preferably one that they consider a favorite. Talk about the foods Talk about the food they serve, the menu and your interaction with the servers. To move on to describe what a restaurant is like in the target culture. What are some different kinds of restaurants that are popular, or cafes, pubs, fast food, and other? What kinds of food will they be likely to serve? What are the menus like? If you have access to any sort of relay, such as menu or pages, this can bring light to discussion. Allow discussion to move to the kind of language you use in a restaurant. What do you say to a server when you order something? How make you talk about the meal with those at the table with you? Next, model some of the vocabulary that may be in this conversation, asking the class to repeat the words after you. When they heard the words a few times, try giving them a passage to listen to with relevant vocabulary. For example, this transcript and exercise from Audiria are ideal for advanced Spanish students. When they have had some practice with these words and phrases, ask them to compose and enact their own creative skits taking place in a restaurant in the target culture. If you have plastic font and authentic table setting, it can add to the sense of overall context, slang words and idioms. Begin by asking students to brainstorm words and expressions that mean something different from their literal translation, i.e., training cats and dogs, calls an arm and a leg. Ponder the difficulty of trying to translate such expression to someone what doesn't know the language. Next, go over a list of common expressions in the target language. The nice thing about this is that many of such idioms are actually counted funny. For example, the French have the wonderful expression occupy to try the test Ignis or take care of your onions. For telling someone to mind his own business, you can find other funny idioms in various languages on this stage blog list as well as all over the fluent tutor learning blogs. Here are just a few examples. French idioms by the bushel, deliciously authentic phrases, word to whiz, 9 famous Spanish proverb and idioms. Speak English naturally with common English idiom. The mega list of 15 plus Chinese scholar with related idioms and cultural notes. Then you can read a passage or edge out a funny Scan dramatic as possible with gestures, voice, and even props and custom for maximum effects. Next, give the student fill in the blank activity in which the mask casts the slang word of or expression that makes the most sense as a completion. Finally, have students write their own solid stories using as many of the slang words and expressions as possible, and then share them. Holiday celebration. This is best done in the context of holiday you are presently celebrating. For example, if it is close to Easter, you might make a connection to the Chinese Kaiming festival, which, like Easter, is a spring holiday with themes of death and rebirth. Present information about the target culture holiday, and then ask students to create a Venn diagram revealing similarities and differences to the holidays they celebrate in their own culture. In the process, home in on vocabulary words for taken about the celebration, or balloon, ghost, decoration, and other. Next, give students a simple reading in the target language about the holiday. Finally, ask students to record videos in which they recreate the particular holiday celebrating using relevant vocabulary. More than anything else, contact will bring language to life for your student, so if nothing else seems to be working, try putting your lesson in the proper context and see what a difference it can make.